Hello everyone, Charcoal here, and welcome back to the Falcon AU, my series where I go over what would happen if the Skywing Dragonet of Destiny lived. When we left off last time, the Dragonets made their way to the Rainforest only to find Morrowseer there, with Rainwings imprisoned all over the place. Since they're a few days late, the volcano is basically blowing up as we speak, so... The prologue is from Queen Battlewinter's perspective. With the volcano on the edge of eruption, Battlewinter gave the go-ahead to invade the rainforest. However, since her lava armor wasn't finished yet and it would be near impossible to fit her cauldron through the tunnel, especially with how many dragons would need to carry it, she had to be left behind. She left Greatness and Morrowseer in charge of the tribe, but with Greatness's general unwillingness to be queen, she is more than happy to let Morrowseer do all the heavy lifting. The main story kicks off, and it's Starflight's turn in the spotlight. The Dragonets arrive on the outskirts of the rainforest, where a certain someone is nearby and spots them. She comes over to introduce herself, and lo and behold, it's none other than Glory. She's still named Glory in this timeline for the sake of convenience. As for how her personality changed from growing up in the rainforest, she's a lot more mellow most of the time, but still prone to being a little grumpy. After verifying that these are, in fact, the real Dragonets of Destiny, she explains that when the Nightwings attacked, she and her brother Jambu were able to escape and go into hiding. Most of the tribe was captured, and the queens were all executed. She takes them to meet Jambu and explains the situation leading up to the invasion, basically what we saw in the original timeline, but the Nightwings succeeded, and pretty much everyone is at a loss for how they're going to drive off the Nightwings. They decide to sleep on it, but they're ambushed in the middle of the night by Deathbringer, who has been tasked with scouting in case the Dragonets showed up, and here they are. Falcon and Tsunami manage to subdue him, and Starflight asks him why he's following Morrowseer. Deathbringer responds that he's been trained to follow orders, no questions asked, but he'll admit that he doesn't exactly agree with most of the stuff Morrowseer has been doing. Keep in mind, he's not really willing to tell them everything, it's more because he's surrounded and pinned down. Once they're sure Deathbringer won't attack them anymore, they let him up, and he explains that he can't just go back empty-handed because Morrowseer will get suspicious. Starflight offers himself up in exchange for letting the others go free, and Deathbringer agrees. Starflight assures his friends that he'll be fine and that he'll try to scope out the situation and think of a plan while he's gone. In the morning, Starflight comes face to face with Morrowseer and meets the false Dragonets of Destiny, Flame, Viper, Ogre, Squid, and Fatespeaker. Morrowseer takes them through the usual routine of visiting a Skywing outpost, the guards are killed, Squid gets upset and leaves, and Morrowseer feels like Starflight could use a bit more convincing. He takes them through the enchanted tunnel to the Nightwing Island, where the ruins of buildings can be seen throughout the volcanic wasteland. He tries to emphasize to Starflight that this is why the Nightwings invaded the rainforest, because they have nowhere else to go. While on the tour, Starflight notices a scattered pile of treasure that got blown out of the treasury during the eruption. In that pile, Starflight finds the Dream Visitor. Trust me, this will be important later. Morrowseer gathers the group back together and orders them to start sparring. Viper and Flame gang up on Fatespeaker, but Starflight jumps in to defend her, and the usual scene happens of Viper getting knocked back and slashing Flame before falling into lava and unfortunately perishing. Morrowseer calls off the battle, and Starflight and Fatespeaker mourn Viper's death for a few minutes before they all head back. The Dragonets get the rest of the day to themselves, and Starflight takes the time to walk around with Fatespeaker and ask a lot of the Nightwings the same question he asked Deathbringer about following Morrowseer. With few exceptions, they all give a similar answer. He provides hope and unity to a tribe that's been ravaged by hardship for over 2,000 years. Starflight also gets a tour of some caged Rainwings, just to remind him what he's fighting for. That night, Starflight finds Deathbringer and tells him to go let the others know he's okay before trying to get some sleep and test out the Dream Visitor. He ends up in the dream of none other than Peril, who is reliving a moment from a couple nights before. Stuck in a prison cell, the halls bustling with fleeing Skywings, followed by Mudwings, Sandwings, and Icewings. With the Mudwings now at war with the Skywings, they formed a temporary alliance with Blaze and Glacier to launch an assault on the Sky Kingdom to take down Queen Scarlet and Burn once and for all. And Peril swears she can hear some dragons shouting about Burn, who is still at the palace to lead her forces against the Mudwings, being dead. Scarlet herself enters the hallway and opens Peril's cell, ordering Peril to join the fight against the invaders, but she refuses, instead choosing to run away from the chaos. Scarlet is left behind, her fate unknown, as Starflight suddenly wakes up. This serves as his reminder that even though the Nightwings need to be stopped here in the rainforest, there's still an even bigger conflict waiting for the Dragonets afterwards. In the morning, Morrowseer takes the remaining Dragonets to the Royal Pavilion to meet the new Nightwing Queen, Greatness, and she seems a mix of bored and flustered. When Morrowseer leaves them alone, Flame is quick to criticize Greatness for not showing more authority. Morrowseer is supposed to be her advisor, but they act like it's the other way around. Greatness eventually loses her temper and shouts that she never wanted to be queen, so she's happy to let Moroseer do the hard stuff for her. Starflight argues back, saying that he and the other dragonets never chose to be the ones who have to stop the war, but that doesn't change the fact that it's their responsibility. Fatespeaker pipes in that leaving Moroseer in charge has led to dozens, if not hundreds of Rainwings being locked up or killed, and Starflight mentions that most of the guards he's talked to don't agree with it, but are just following orders. Greatness thinks for a moment before dismissing them. Another training session later, and it's the evening. Starflight decides to take Fatespeaker to meet the other real dragonets, only to find Glory and Jambu completely alone. Turns out they were attacked earlier that day by a band of Nightwings using Rainwing blow darts, and the other 4 dragonets were captured while Glory and Jambu hid with their camouflage. By the way, this is when Starflight finds out Rainwings can camouflage. Deathbringer shows up again, having seen the dragonets locked up, so he came to find Glory and Jambu. Together, the 5 of them formulate a plan to not only save the Dragonets of Destiny, but also save the Rainwings and bring down Moroseer. Glory and Jambu also decide to demonstrate their venom just to prove they can help. Late that night, it's time to start spreading the word. Starflight and Fatespeaker tell any Nightwings that Starflight remembers were dissenters, Glory and Jambu tell the imprisoned Rainwings, and Deathbringer begins secretly picking the locks on the Rainwings' cages. Once they're sure they have everyone, Starflight and Fatespeaker go to the pavilion to confront Moroseer. Flame and Ochre are asleep, Greatness is just kinda there, the Dragonets are in a makeshift cage, and Moroseer is grumbling about how the Rainwings don't have any actual prisons. Starflight speaks up and claims it's time for Moroseer's reign to end. The Dragonets of Destiny fight for justice, and what's been going on here has been anything but. Any sleeping dragons in here are woken up by the noise. Moroseer laughs him off and drops the bombshell that the prophecy is fake, but after the shock wears off, the Dragonets in the cage start explaining that prophecy or not, they still have a job to do. Starflight agrees, and he and Fatespeaker run outside. Twin jets of flame from the 2 Nightwings high into the air signals the rebellion. Instantaneously, the Rainforest erupts with activity. Dragons flock to the pavilion, Nightwings with weapons ready, Rainwings with their fangs bared. Any who try to resist are simply overwhelmed by sheer numbers. When Moroseer starts shouting at everyone, trying to control the situation, in pops Glory, who's been invisible this entire time, and... She proceeds to melt his face with her venom, and Moroseer finally kicks the bucket. After a lot of cheering and celebrations, Queen Greatness steps up and announces that she's ready to lead her tribe properly. But then it sets in that the Rainwings kinda don't have a queen anymore because Moroseer had all of them killed. As the one who took Moroseer out, everyone pretty unanimously agrees to appoint Glory as the new queen of the Rainwings. Glory knows the Nightwings don't have anywhere to go, so her first act is to give them an area of currently uninhabited land on the east side of the Rainforest, aka where the Nightwing village is located in the original timeline. The difference here is that they're allowed to rule themselves so long as they don't do anything that would bring another tribe angrily knocking on the Rainforest's door. Deathbringer and Jambu are appointed as diplomats to help keep the peace between the 2 tribes. Once everything calms down, the Dragonets of Destiny decide to lay low in the Rainforest for now and decide their next move, and Flame, Ochre, and Fatespeaker are allowed to stay there too until the war ends. And so ends the main story of this book, but we still have one last section. The epilogue of the original Book 4 was about Burn, Blister, and Blaze thinking about killing the Dragonets of Destiny. This one is slightly different. Burn is confirmed to have been killed in the attack on the Sky Palace, so this epilogue features Blister and Blaze thinking about not only killing the Dragonets, but also taking over the now vacant Sandwing stronghold and dealing with the remnants of Burn's forces. Let's review. Peril has escaped the Sky Palace, Scarlet is missing, and Burn has been killed, leaving the Sandwing stronghold open to invaders. The Mudwings and Skywings are no longer participating in the war, leaving Blaze with the Icewings, Blister with the Seawings, and both looking to secure the stronghold for themselves. Glory is still the Rainwing Queen, but the Nightwings now rule themselves under Queen Greatness. Glorybringer is no longer a thing, and I'll admit that may have been intentional. Glory is 6 at this point, the equivalent of her late teens, and Deathbringer is 13, well into adulthood. That's treading pedophilia grounds, and I'm not okay with that. Starspeaker, though, that can stay. It's not a great ship, but I don't hate it, and I've been destroying ships throughout this entire AU, so someone had to finally catch a break. And speaking of Starflight, he is no longer blind. Good for him. And as for Moonwatcher and Secret Keeper, they stayed in hiding throughout the invasion and quietly assimilated into the Nightwing village like they did in the original timeline. I know Falcon didn't really do much in this one, but this AU is meant to be about what would happen to everyone if the Skywing egg survived, not specifically about Falcon herself. Anyway, that wraps up Book 4. And wow, what an episode. Longest one yet. For fan art today, we have No, Wipeout, and Star Song. Thank you so much, guys, and as always, you can submit your own fan art in my Discord server. This has been Wings of Charcoal, and I will see you all in the next video.